And I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you. Oh. All right. So welcome everybody, and thank you for attending or choosing to attend today's presentation. I will be telling you a little bit more about Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, what it's like to study there, what kind of courses we offer, and what exactly you would need to do in order to become an exchange student and to study with us, either for the duration of a semester or the duration perhaps of an entire academic year. My name is Neda Bechar, and I am part of the incoming exchange team, which is also part of the mobility team at VU. And I work together with two colleagues whose pictures I couldn't find at such short notice, or I wasn't able to incorporate in this presentation at such short notice. But I work together with two wonderful people called Arnold and Caro, and the three of us are responsible for the influx of close to 800 exchange students annually. We receive about, I would say, 450 to 500 first semester, and then 350 to 250 to 300 students during the second semester. Of course, in previous years, it has been a little bit different as a consequence of Corona, but we see that we are slowly but surely starting to go back to the numbers as they were pre-COVID-19. Before I start with this entire story, I would like to show you a video, because I think that the best perspective that you could perhaps understand what I'm about to tell you is in fact the perspective of an exchange student. So if you just have a moment, I am going to share a different screen that I have already opened, or perhaps it's going to go like this as well. Let me just see what Zoom does. Yeah, I hope that you can hear and clearly.
Hi, sorry, but I think that the screen that was showing the video is not being shared, so we can't see.
The text file include individual usage as well as.
All right, I'm very sorry about that. I heard that some of you were not able to hear or see the video, which is why I'm in the chat. I saw that some of you were not able to hear or see the video, which is why I'm going to share this with you in the chat later on, a link to the exchange video so you can watch it at your own convenience. So then a little bit more about the position of our university. We are located in the Netherlands, in the capital of the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, which to me, and I think to a lot of other people, is the most vibrant city in this country. And of course, the Netherlands has a lot more to offer, but Amsterdam is such a melting pot of so many different cultures, and a city that is that basically never sleeps. And I think it is also quite remarkable that Amsterdam, despite the fact that it has a little less than 1 million inhabitants, I think it's around 880,000. It is often mentioned in the same sentence with large world cities such as, for example, New York, London, Tokyo, and then a lot of people will also add to that Amsterdam. And it's quite extraordinary, I think, once again, if you look at the number of inhabitants and if you also look at the size of the city. And this is where Vrije Universiteit is located. In addition to, of course, having the privilege of being located in the city, we also, I think, offer a very high quality of research and education at our university, which is also demonstrated by the performance in several international rankings. So the Shanghai ranking is, of course, one of the most well-known, coming in at 116th place, and the Times Higher Education at the 131st place. And then a little bit more about the city of Amsterdam. Like I said before, it is very lively. It is the capital of our country, and it also contains world famous cultural heritage. We have, I think, the highest number of musea per square meters, but I think also when you look at the number of inhabitants, there's a very extensive public transport network that will very easily connect one part of the city with another. Pretty much everybody speaks English, and generally people in the Netherlands also speak English at a very high level, but to the point that sometimes our international students who come to the Netherlands with the intention to learn Dutch find it very hard to do so, because every time that they try speaking to somebody in the Dutch language, people will just start speaking English back to them. It is, I think, also very important to mention that it is the 4th safest city in the world, according to research. I think, yeah, the one thing, though, when it comes to safety that most people complain about is the fact that bikes tend to get stolen a lot. Yeah, that is, in comparison, I think, to more serious crimes, a pretty good result. So, our university was founded initially as a private university, or it was founded as a private university in 1880. And the word Vrije. Hello, is there somebody who would like to say something? All right, because I think that somebody just didn't have their audio on. The word Vrije, Vrije Universiteit, Vrije actually means free, because our university is free from interference by church and state. And it also meant that the university received independent funding, and it was founded, like I said, in 1880 by Abraham Kuyper. Today at our university, there's some very important facts and figures that I would like to share with you, because one of the things that we take great pride in is the fact that we find diversity so important. So currently we have about 30,000 students studying with us, out of which almost 5,000 are international. And we have set the objectives of attracting an even high number of international students, both exchange and degree in the future, to rise to about 20% of the total. And we have about 118 different nationalities studying with us, and that applies to both international students as well as international staff. And just to give you an idea, I think that in Amsterdam, there's about 180 different nationalities that are represented. So our university does quite well when you look at those numbers. So 118 studying out of the 180 in Amsterdam are in fact studying and working at VU. We have over 170 English taught programs in total, and these numbers are actually growing by the year. Just in the last, over the last couple of years, we've had an increase of about 20%. and we are a campus university. So in comparison to other universities and education institutions in the Netherlands, we are located on one campus, and it is relatively easy to walk from one building to the next and make it in time for all of your classes. And basically everything is nearby. And another thing that I would like to point out in the facts and figures section is that we are the second university worldwide to combat climate change. And this according to the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking. Our students and academic staff have even set up an office which is called the Green Office, and they regularly come up with all kinds of different initiatives in terms of climate change and in terms of protecting the environment. Just to give you a couple of examples, we have once a year, we have the so-called sweater day, winter sweater day, where the temperature in all of our university buildings is lowered by a few degrees, so that we decrease the energy, of course, that is needed for the heating of the building. And we have these water taps over the campus, and with that we encourage students to use refillable bottles rather than just buying plastic bottles every time that they want to drink water. The course offer in English, and especially when it comes to our exchange courses, is quite extensive. And this is something that I feel like I need to elaborate on a little bit better. I will refer to the website a little bit later where you can find all of this information and perhaps even a bit more elaborate than I'm about to explain to you right now. But our course offer is basically consists of two different parts. So at one hand, we have the so-called minor programs, which are set packages with an overall theme. And these packages consist of 5 different courses that are all interrelated. So the minor programs are offered during our fall semester. And there's this division between university minors, and these are open to all students. So regardless of your academic background, you can sign up for one of these minor programs. One minor program is 30 ECTS, 30 credits, which is at the same time the full workload for a semester. And which is at the same time the full workload for one semester. And there's also, in addition to the university minors, for which I already said you do not need any type of previous academic background. There's also the faculty minors, which are open specifically students with a relevant academic background, for example, in earth and life sciences, economics, and so on. There are many advantages actually to choosing one of the minor programs, but I think the main advantage would be that you're choosing a certain package, that you're choosing a set of courses that have been thought out very carefully, and that, like I said, have an overall theme. And in addition to that, you will be sure that during the semester there won't be any overlap in the courses that you choose between because the courses in the minor have been set up in such a way that there is no overlap. You can, however, also choose individual courses from our exchange study guide. That means that you can perhaps individualize your course selection a little bit more. We have a published list of models for exchange students on our website that I will give you the link to a little bit later. But this also gives you the opportunity to, for example, choose courses from different faculties to kind of mix and match. But then you also do run the risk of potentially having overlap between the courses that you chose, especially, like I said, if you choose courses from different faculties. So our education style, I would say that the educational style in the Netherlands is generally quite student-centered. The lecturer or the professor is really sort of like a facilitator amongst equals, and students are very much encouraged to develop their own line of thinking, to be very critical, but also independent and creative. So in a lot of the times, and especially when writing essays or when, having these open types of questions at exams, it will not be sufficient to simply write down what is written in the book, but students are generally expected to also give their own opinion on something and ideas, right? Given the fact that we have so many different nationalities studying on our campus, we take great pride in the fact that our classrooms are very mixed and that our educational approach builds upon differences to enrich the learning experience for all the students present. And in addition to the so-called standard programs, we also have a broader mind program in place, which is an educational program that bachelor degree students can choose to work on social questions and self-development. So this would be in addition to full-time study. So in terms of student well-being, and we noticed that this was a very important topic, especially during Corona times. We have very much elaborated on several services that we offer. So we have a variety in counseling service, ranging from academic advisors and student general counselors to mentors to individual counselings, but also workshops and study group. We have the medical services that we offer on campus, the university general practice, but also our very own student psychologists. All international students have daily access to the international student desk with all types of questions regarding, let's say, accommodation, visa, any of the documents that they need to have signed. But we also have a student organization that most of you might be familiar with, which is the International Student Network, ESN. Several study associations, student associations, for example, VU Pride, who basically try to shed a light on our LGBTQ community, and also, for example, VU Family, who are really there for students with a different cultural background that all students can be part of and can apply for. Additional information about all these services can be found on vu.nl wellbeing and on the links that you see here below. So a little bit more about our campus. Here you can see a picture. We have a basketball court in that kind of connects all of the different buildings. The campus is located in the southwest part of Amsterdam, which is at the same time the economic region and the fastest and the biggest economic region of the Netherlands. And that also, I think, is a huge advantage in the sense that we work together with a lot of the companies that are located in this area. Like I mentioned before, also all facilities are within walking distance. All of the buildings on campus are pretty much located around this main center square. And so you can easily walk from one building to the next, from one faculty to the next, in case you have decided to mix and match courses and in fact follow courses from different study programs in different faculties. There are excellent transport connections because it only takes about 15 minutes by tram or by metro to get to the historic city centers. And then from Amsterdam Zuid, which is a train station and that is located at about 5 minutes distance from our campus, it's only 8 minutes by train to Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, which is a huge transportation hub to not only Europe, but actually also the world. So here is a map of our campus, and I can imagine that it must be quite difficult for you to kind of paint a mental image of where one building is and how it relates to the other buildings. But luckily, we have also developed a virtual campus tour, which I think makes this a lot more comprehensible and which gives you the opportunity to really see the buildings not only from outside, but also to take a look inside. We have actually added a new building, the new university building that you see here at the very center, which is also very interesting architecturally. And so that would really be worth checking out via the virtual campus tour. So for exchange students specifically who decide to join us, a lot of the students that are actually part of this group have in the past complained about the fact that they become part of this exchange bubble, meaning that when they come to Amsterdam, they only socialize and interact with other exchange students. And for this, we have set up a so-called buddy program, which allows us to match them to our Dutch buddies. And I say, I say Dutch because most of the students are in fact Dutch by nationality, but we also have a number of degree students studying at Amsterdam who have already been there and studying there for several years and who find it interesting to kind of show all of the exchange students around and to show them the way. And I think it's an amazing way of really being immersed in the Dutch way of life, Dutch traditions, Dutch culture, and the possibility to perhaps even learn a few words of Dutch in addition to the classes that are being offered in our language center that is also part of the university, and that you can also sign up and earn 3 ECTS or 3 credits with. So a lot of students ask us what the cost of living is in Amsterdam. It is a rather expensive city. Of course, it's all relative because it depends on where you study and where you yourself come from. But living and studying in Amsterdam for 1 year will cost between 900 and 1700 euros per month. And of course, there's a very big difference between the 900 euros or the 1700 euros, but this very much depends on your own lifestyle and how much you plan to spend on travel travel in Europe, travel in the Netherlands, of course, what your expenses are in terms of groceries, but also nightlife, and of course, accommodation being a very, very big part of it. We do offer accommodation on campus, and I will talk about this a little bit later, but generally speaking, expect to have a budget anywhere between 400 euro and 1,000 euro per month for a student room, which are generally very difficult to come by in Amsterdam. The general living expenses, I said, your groceries and such are anywhere between 300 and 500 euros. There is mandatory health insurance that you need to have in the Netherlands, but if you live in the EU and if you already have an insurance in the EU, you can simply transfer it to the Netherlands. Public transport, most students can count on anywhere between 65 and 100 euros. But of course, Amsterdam is the city in Europe that has more bikes than it has inhabitants. So this is the reason why we advise most of our international students to simply buy a bike. It is a one-time investment of about, I would say, 100 to 150 euros. And then, it's very easy to get around town. It's a lot cheaper, of course. It keeps you fit. The only issue is that the weather in Amsterdam isn't always that great. There's a lot of wind and there's a lot of rain. And so not all of you might be keen on taking the bike when it's pouring outside. And then, of course, there's the expenses for books and printing, which are about 100 euros, of course, depending on your study program and depending on what is needed for the specific courses that you chose. So the good thing about coming to our university or any other university via an exchange program is the fact that exchange students are exempted from paying tuition fees. And this is because of the bilateral agreements that have been set up between universities, and these bilateral agreements can be can be set up specifically for a faculty, but they can also be university-wide. And of course, you also have this privilege as Aurora partners. So make sure to reach out to the international office of your home university to find out whether the bilateral agreement that is actually in place, whether it is university-wide or whether it only applies to certain faculties. So in case you're watching this as a student or of course also as administrative staff and you would like to give your students information about how to apply as an exchange student, the first step would be to visit the international office of your home university and to find out more about the selection procedure that is in place at your home university. We have 2 nomination deadlines. So if you wish to join us for the fall semester, the nomination deadline is April 1st. And for those of you who wish to join us for the spring semester, the nomination deadline is October 1st. And additional information about this can be found on our website. After you have been, so the way that it goes is the different steps that I have described here. So once you have passed the application procedure at your home university will nominate you at VU. And once we receive your nomination, we will send you information as exchange students about how to complete the online application in our student portal, which is called VUNet. The only thing you have to do is upload 3 documents that I will talk about in the next slide. And after you have been asked to pay the housing fees and the visa fees, you can wait for further instructions regarding specifically course registration. So the application procedure is actually quite straightforward. It's quite easy. The documents that you need to upload are only 3. In case you like to follow bachelor level courses, all you need is a transcript of records that has been issued by your university, a copy of a valid passport, valid for the entire duration of your exchange, and I believe even 3 months after, depending on the immigration requirements, and a picture of yourself that we will use to make a student card, a VU student card for you. And then in case you want to follow master level courses, that is when we require 2 additional documents because the requirements at our university to follow master level courses are quite strict. We would need an official proof of proficiency in English, meaning that you would have to submit a TOEFL or an IELTS test and a copy of your bachelor diploma and transcript of grades so that you can prove that you actually have the relevant academic background in order to apply or be admitted for the master level courses of your choice. So we have, our university has a services department that will help you arrange housing, visa, and residence permits. So this is not something that you will have to do yourself. We have usually, when it's, we didn't have this during Corona times simply because we weren't able to organize it, but we usually have a pickup service from Schiphol Airport the day that you arrive to transport you to our campus. We have a very extensive introduction program that in summer lasts about 8 to 10 days. And for the spring semester, it's only about 3 days, simply because there's very little time between the end of fall semester and the beginning of spring semester. And like I mentioned previously, we have the International Student Association, ESN Amsterdam, that really provides a safe haven and a community for all international students and organizes all kinds of social as well as cultural activities that will take you around Amsterdam, but also enable you to get to know other cities in the Netherlands and even Europe. So in terms of accommodation, after you have submitted all those documents and after you have applied online as an exchange student, you'll receive a so-called offer that you have to accept, a so-called confirmed participation offer. And then once you do that, you will be asked to transfer housing fees. The housing fees are 250 euros for one semester and 500 euros for the entire year. And after these fees have been transferred, you will be put on the list for accommodation. And please note that accommodation is assigned based on first paid, first served principle. So the rental prices are anywhere between 350 and 900 euros, depending on where you wish to live. So on our campus, the prices are a little bit lower. The prices are, like I said, between 350 to perhaps 500 to 600 euros. And we have so on Universiteit, that is our campus that you see here on the picture as well. There are several facilities. There are facilities in which about 12 students live on the same floor, each with their own bedroom and bathroom. But you, for example, can share the kitchen with 12 other people. But there's also the types of buildings where you only have your own room and then have to share both the bathrooms and the kitchen. And there's also the more private rooms which have their private facilities and where you only share the kitchen with one or two other students. In addition, there's also the very let's say exclusive, but at the same time a more expensive student hotel, where you have a reception, where you have all kinds of facilities, where your laundry is done, and where you have a very, let's say, luxurious room in comparison to the rooms that are offered on campus. Our services department also deals with the applications for the visa and for the residence permit. So this applies only, of course, to non-EU nationals. There is an immigration fee of 275 euros that non-EU students are required to pay. And these need to be collected, uploaded, these funds need to be transferred before June 1st. For fall semester and before December 1st for spring semester. And after that, after the funds and after all of the relevant documents have been received specifically for the visa, that's when our colleagues from the services department contact the Dutch Migration Services, or IND, who then start processing your student visa that you will be able to pick up on arrival. So that was, in short, my presentation. A lot of the information that I have just told you, most of the information can be found on vu.nl/en/education/exchange, but you can also follow us under the name VU Amsterdam on social media. We are quite active on Facebook, but also on Instagram, where we have a very lively student community posting all kinds of pictures, videos, takeovers, reels, you name it. But of course, if as a consequence of this presentation or after this presentation, you have any specific questions, I will make sure to give you the opportunity to ask those questions now after I'm done. Or of course, you can send us an email to incoming@vu.nl. Once again, make sure to check out the campus online via our online campus tour, or you can read more information in the Getting Started guide. All right, so that was it for me. I'm gonna stop the sharing, and I'm also going to pause the recording.